Hey everyone! Today we're diving into something really powerful, a science-backed way to handle anxiety. We're going to talk about how our minds get tangled up in these cycles of fear and, more importantly, how we can actually retrain our brains to get out of them. So let's get right into it.
Okay, so let's just start with a question that probably hits home for a lot of us. Have you ever noticed this weird thing? Like you're scared of something, say public speaking, or even just going to a crowded party, so you just don't go. And you feel this instant wave of relief, right? But then, the next time you have to think about it, the fear is somehow stronger. What is going on there?
Well, there's actually a name for that. It's called the avoidance trap. And it's tricky because it feels like a solution, right? But it's actually the very thing that's feeding the anxiety you're trying to get rid of. It's this super common pattern. And just knowing what it is, that's the first step to breaking free. So how does this trap really work? Let's break down what's called the vicious cycle of avoidance.
Okay, so here's the absolute heart of the problem. When you dodge something you're afraid of, your brain just goes, relief. The anxiety drops, and that feels amazing. But here's the catch. In that exact moment, your brain learns a really powerful and totally wrong lesson. It's like it's saying to itself, whew, that was a close one. That thing must have been genuinely dangerous. It actually confirms the fear. So yeah, you get that nice short-term comfort, but what you're really doing is making the fear stronger for the long run. So, if avoiding things is the trap, then what's the escape hatch? Well, the solution might sound a little backward at first. It's about facing the fear, but, and this is the key, in a really manageable way. I want you to think of it like you're climbing a ladder.
And this quote just nails it, right? The only way out is through. But, and this is so important, you don't have to go through it all at once. If you're scared of heights, nobody's asking you to leap to the top of a skyscraper. No way! The whole point is just to take that very first tiny step onto the ladder. The goal isn't to freak yourself out, it's all about taking it one small step at a time.
And I love this because it just lays out the two choices so clearly. On one side, you've got the avoidance cycle. You get that quick hit of relief, but look at where it leads. The fear gets bigger, and your world literally starts to shrink as you avoid more and more things. Then you've got the exposure path. And yeah, it starts with some discomfort, for sure, but the long-term payoff? It's freedom. Your world actually starts to get bigger.
And this new, more powerful path? It has a name. It's called gradual exposure. It's a really well-researched technique, and it's all about facing your fears, but in small, totally manageable steps.
But how does this actually work inside your brain? Let's peel back the curtain and look at the science of how taking these small steps can flip your brain's alarm system into safe mode.
Okay, the main idea here is actually pretty simple, but it's also really profound. Gradual exposure literally retrains fear. And this is not about willpower, it's not about just toughing it out, it's a learning process. You're essentially feeding your brain new experiences that prove the old fearful thoughts wrong. You are actively teaching that little alarm system in your head that it's been ringing a false alarm.
And here's how you do it, using that great fear ladder idea. So, step 1, you figure out exactly what the fear is. Step 2, you build your ladder. You list out all the little steps, from the thing that's barely scary all the way up to the big one. Then you just start with the absolute easiest one. And step 4 is the game changer. You stay there. You stay in that situation until the fear kind of chills out on its own. You're not running, you're just letting your brain learn. And once you've got that one down, then and only then do you climb up to the next rung.
There's a cool scientific word for this process. It's called habituation. And it's so powerful because you're not trying to argue with your fear. You can't really reason with it, right? You're retraining it. The part of your brain that controls fear, it doesn't really listen to logic. It listens to experience. So when you hang out in a situation and the disaster you are expecting just doesn't happen, you're feeding it new, safe data. You are literally showing your nervous system through direct experience, see, we're actually okay.
Okay, now this all sounds great in theory, but it is absolutely crucial that you do this safely. This isn't about just diving into the deep end. You need a bit of a safety net.
Right, so here's the deal. The idea itself is pretty simple, but how you do it really matters. Doing this in a structured, careful way is what makes it therapy instead of just a scary thing to do. That proper structure is what keeps you from trying to do too much, too fast, which can totally backfire and make things worse.
And honestly, this is where having some guidance can be a total game changer. Gradual exposure is actually a huge part of what's called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT.
And these guided programs, they're designed specifically to help you build your ladder and climb it in a way that feels supportive and, most importantly, safe.
So what's so great about a guided program? Well, a professional can help you build the right kind of ladder, one that pushes you just a little bit but doesn't completely overwhelm you. They give you that safe structure, they teach you skills to handle the anxiety when it pops up, and they're there to cheer you on. It's all about making sure you're moving at a pace that's perfect for you.
All right, so we've talked about the trap of avoidance, and we've looked at the science behind the solution, gradual exposure. Now let's tie it all together and think about how to go from just knowing this stuff to actually doing something with it.
Look, if there is just one thing you remember from all of this, let it be this right here. Fear feels like this giant, permanent wall, right? But it's not. It's actually flexible. It has a weakness. And that weakness is this. Fear shrinks when you face it, just a little bit at a time.
And that really brings us to the final question I want to leave you with. You don't have to figure this all out right now, not at all. But just for a second, think about it. If you were going to build one of these fear ladders for something in your life, what would that first, tiny, totally manageable step be? What's just one little thing you could do that feels just a little bit brave?